Wanted to thank everybody again for being here today. First of many of our virtual lunch and learns. Another way that Chamber is able to provide some information, bring you timely, relevant, directly to our business community in a format that's easily accessible for a lot of people. Today's session is going to focus on an important topic, our upcoming 2026 retirement mandate, something that's going to affect businesses across Sullivan County. And conversations like these are exactly how we can stay informed, prepared, and positioned for success. We're grateful for Black Creek Consulting and Human Interest for bringing this expertise and helping to guide us through what can often feel like a complex issue. So thanks again for taking the time in your busy day to join us today. And I hope you find some valuable information from today's session. I'd like to welcome Kate Waage of Black Creek Consulting to introduce our presenter.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Keith. And thank you, Sullivan County Chamber of Commerce, for your hard work. Your work is never done. That's why we're all here. So big shout out to you and the Chamber staff for making it happen. I'm Kate Waage, proud owner of Black Creek Consulting. And more importantly, I'm a proud board member here with the Chamber. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into a topic that has been sort of like an elephant in the room. And our goal today is to bring clarity to all of you, our business community, Sullivan County, the confidence, and some practical next steps for all the employers, business owners, to understand the roadmap as the New York State retirement mandate comes into effect. We want to help you understand what's required, what is optional, how to implement a solution that fits your business without, which is more important, adding some extra work, some administrative burden. So now I'm going to introduce my partners, great humans, which is, no pun intended, represent a wonderful company, Human Interest. They are aligned with the philosophical here, what we're trying to achieve in Sullivan County Chamber. So Mike Ferguson, he will be joining us now to talk a little bit about Human Interest and his role in bringing businesses up to their compliance standard.
Thank you,
Mike,
Kate.
you're up.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. And again, just a special thank you to Keith, Matthew, and the Sullivan County Chamber. We are really excited today to, give a little bit of information about Human Interest, how we typically partner with our partners, as well as support businesses who are in need of retirement solutions. I'll do some proper intros here in a second for myself and my counterpart, Lou DeMeo. But just for a brief agenda of what we're going to cover today, Kate and everybody did a great job introducing to the Chamber. I'm going to talk a little bit about who is Human Interest, the current retirement landscape, why that matters, how we partner with businesses and partnerships, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A at the end. So that's the plan. Once again, special thank you to Kate Waage. This is an example, right, how we got here today of how Human Interest typically does expand our partnership networks. We work with consultants, HR consultants, payroll companies, CPAs, financial advisors, benefit brokers, you name it. There is a niche for us to partner together with businesses, as long as they are also working with small to medium-sized businesses so we can support and help their clients. So Kate's been a great partner of ours over the last 6 to 8 months. She's doing amazing work in the community and obviously always keeping her ear peeled for opportunities where she can bring us in, obviously help business owners throughout the tri-state area. As far as the team from Human Interest goes, my name is Mike Ferguson. I am the Regional Director of Partnerships here, cover most of New England, upstate New York. My typical role, I was a partner account manager in the field for a couple of years, basically meeting partners like Kate as an example, where we're trying to promote partnerships and helping their clients obviously find retirement solutions. As I had mentioned, we do partner with a bevy of different types of organizations. So for those of you that are on the call or listening to the recording, I highly recommend connecting with us after this call, whether it is in a partnership level or it could be on a business ownership level. We might be able to help either, enhance a retirement solution that you currently have in place, or if you don't have anything in place from a new perspective or a new plan, which we'll talk about here a little bit, we can actually absolutely support those roles. That's me on the partnership side. I'm going to kick it over to Lou for an introduction, who handles our business clients.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Just a quick introduction about myself here. I am Mike's counterpart. I'm a regional director on the account executive side. What my team does is once Mike's team identifies a business client, someone that's ready to talk about starting a 401(k) plan, that's where my team comes in. So we'll talk about plan design, really kind of set up the perfect plan for each individual business. Also, we'll help answer any questions that anyone might have around the retirement mandate. So we're just another resource here at Human Interest, and we're the ones that are really going to walk either yourselves or your clients through the setup process of their new 401(k) plan.
Cool. Thank you, Lou. Also, I just want to also point out, anybody that has any questions throughout, feel free to add it into the chat as well. We will absolutely come back to it, and then we will be opening up to questions at the end. So first and foremost, right, who is Human Interest? So Human Interest specializes in making 401(k) and 403(b) retirement benefits more accessible and affordable for small to medium-sized businesses. Through our fully bundled solution and industry-leading technology, we do deliver a modern retirement experience for our partners and customers. A couple things about this that are important to note is you also see 403(b) here. We absolutely can support nonprofit businesses. So if you are an accountant on this call, or a financial advisor, or an HR consultant, and you happen to work with a lot of nonprofits, in the past, it was pretty difficult for organizations to get access to retirement benefits for being a nonprofit, and we really specialize in that space. So always want to call that out up front. And then talking a little more about our fully bundled solution, we integrate directly into 500 plus payroll organizations. And really why that's important is for small to medium-sized businesses, right? A lot of these companies are running thin, right? Or maybe they don't have, or maybe somebody's a business owner and handling a lot of responsibilities on their own. We can absolutely support and take off that heavy lifting or that typically manual process that went into having a retirement plan through our technology integrations. So we make it really efficient for our customers, which also bleeds into our partners and allowing them to free up their conversations with their clients. Couple fast facts about Human Interest and kind of where we started. So we've been in business for 12 years. We have over 48,000 customers nationally. We have over 1 million employees on the platform itself, just to show you the actual scale of the Human Interest platform. We have 250 customer service in-house members domestically, which, as an example, some of our competitors in the space might only have 50 to 100 employees total, right? So we are fully loaded. A support standpoint, we have 800 total employees, right? So we are not small by any means, but we do have that mentality of, a startup type of company that is really focused on helping small businesses over the years. And just to give you an example of our growth, 25% of all new plans were sold by Human Interest in 2024. So if you think about 1 out of every 4 plans that were coming on board for businesses were coming onto the Human Interest platform, which, if you ask me, is pretty remarkable considering a company only being around for 10 years. But it does show the growth. It's a testament to our technology and how efficiently our platform runs. And this is from 2024. I think, in all honesty, the numbers for last year are shaping up to be about 1/3 out of every plan is coming out to Human Interest. So we'll have more stuff to obviously present there and share, online. But the other thing I also want to point out about our customer service is we won the JD Power Award for outstanding customer service for phone support. Listen, if you are a partner or a business, customer support should be absolutely critical to why you make decisions and work with companies. So we do an amazing job there. Just wanted to point out some of the highlights of what our company can provide. From a mission standpoint, right, we help people in all lines of work access retirement benefits. This aligns with our vision as well because everyone deserves access to a secure financial future, right? Our company was built on the backs of small business owners. Our founders were small business owners. They found a niche in the market, I say a crack in the cement, where small businesses ultimately were having challenges getting an affordable plan, right? And even if they did get an affordable plan, there was a very manual process within payroll and managing these plans themselves. And as a business owner, right, they found an opportunity to create a product and a service that essentially made it easier for small to medium-sized businesses to actually provide retirement benefits for their employees. So we could talk all day about retirement and how great human interest is, but it's really important to understand current retirement landscape and ultimately why our company is thriving right now, and what are some of the reasons as to why small businesses need to start considering and looking into a company like ours, because there is actual options, and things have changed over the last 5 to 10 years. So we are in a retirement crisis, right? I'm going to show you a couple facts here about some things that are quite startling, right? If you're really looking at the industry as a whole. And then obviously we can talk through some of these things at the end with Q&A, because I'm sure there will be some questions. But let's just start off with a couple here. 40% of US adults have no retirement savings, right? Simply 4 out of 10 people have nothing that they can bank on. It is estimated that the median retirement savings account of about 185,000 for those approaching retirement at the age 55 to 64 will likely provide approximately about $1,600 per month for a short 15-year span, right? That is not a lot of money to live off of, especially with the way our economy is, inflation, all these other things. These numbers will decrease. So it's really important to like put some facts to this, right? And how can these businesses help their clients or help their employees save more in retirement? The other thing here is 39% of workers in America that are not on track to have sufficient savings by the age of 67. Moral of the story off these slides is people are not saving anything at all, or are significantly behind the ball in being able to provide themselves a hassle-free retirement. More than half Americans are not prepared for retirement in general. So 57% of employees are behind where they should be, right? Obviously a high number. 22% of employees are on track to have or achieve their retirement savings goals, right? So only 22% is really the number that we're looking at, is a huge delta, right? 78% of folks are behind the ball. 21% of employees have not started saving for retirement yet at all. So again, these numbers, human interest is doing everything we can, and you'll see a little more here about this of how we're getting these numbers to rise, and we're doing a great job in the market doing that. One of the last things I want to show you here is nearly half of all employees, 56 million, do not have access to an employer-provided pension or retirement savings plan. Now, the key or the caveat to employees being able to actually have a retirement plan is it needs to be offered by their employer, right? And that is where the biggest gap in the market has been over the years for these companies. And this is what we're also going to kind of talk about a little bit more here. But it's hard to save, right? It's hard to put anything towards a retirement away when you can't access these plans. And just to show you here, if you look at companies, if you go all the way to the right here, 90% of companies that have 500 plus employees have a retirement plan in place, right? And the reason being is these companies are ultimately forced to have something in place, whether it's by mandates through the state, which we'll talk about, or if you're a large company, individual employees are asking for benefits, right? It's critical for them staying at companies and choosing new jobs. And these larger companies, right, they've seen this and through growth have established retirement plans for their employees. As you scale down, right, from an employee headcount at the bottom here, from 100 to 500, 50 to 99, and then the sweet spot of 1 to 49, you can see how drastically that decreases to only 55% of businesses are offering a retirement plan. So again, moral of the story here is it's hard to save when you don't have a retirement plan in place or these employees don't have access to anything. I'm going to pause for 1 second. I don't know if maybe Kate, if you had any questions about anything we ran into, but I'm also going to let Lou talk a little bit about the retirement legislation and how that all works as well.
Mike, thank you so much. And I'm really stunned because I think it's the first time I was able to really sit down and process this information. It is a crisis and it's happening right here in our communities. So what can we do as business owners, leaders, chambers of commerce, as far as solve for that, or at least have a path forward?
Yeah, there's definitely we're in a position to help these companies, from an affordability standpoint, as well as making it efficient and leveraging some of these state mandates that are coming into play here, right? At the end of the day, businesses, if they're not forced to do something, right? Nobody's going to pay more taxes than they have to, right? You're going to do things the way your business is ultimately set up to survive. So, Lou's going to talk a little bit about the retirement legislation, not only within the state, but at the federal level, and why that matters and why these businesses are starting to take notice, and why, for anybody on this call or listening in, should definitely maybe have a different perspective on how things are kind of shaping out than maybe they did before the call.
Thanks, Mike. And I guess, kind of just to kind of piggyback on that point, Mike did a really good job of, highlighting, what the landscape looks like, and, why there is a need for businesses to help employees save. The federal government and the states also realize, like, hey, we also need to incentivize and, help this process along. So what the slide you're seeing here is what 49 states have kind of started down the path of doing, is implement something that mandates businesses have some type of retirement plan for their employees. So you'll see that one gray state, South Dakota. That's the one lone state that has not done anything, started the process, anything like that. But all those deep blue states, those are all states that currently have state mandates that are active, with penalties in place for non-compliance. So, states are kind of forcing the hands of small businesses. And then, obviously giving the tools and the resources to offer plans. And then, as we'll talk about in another couple slides, the federal government is also offering some kind of support from a monetary standpoint to help businesses do this as well. But this is definitely something that is a nationwide movement. You'll just notice that, the Northeast is maybe getting ahead of the curve. So this is definitely something that you and also some of your clients are going to have to worry about.
Sure.
Yeah. So here's just a couple details just around New York State, their specific retirement plan. It does affect any companies that has 10 or more W-2 employees. This does not exclude part-timers. As long as they're a W-2 employee, they do then qualify towards that 10. Something that doesn't state here, the business does have to be in over 2 years. So new businesses do get a little bit of a grace period before they are forced to offer something. But then if you look to the right-hand side, you'll see that the state has started to lay out some penalties. So obviously for the first violation, a $250 per employee fine, and then it starts kind of stepping up from there. So obviously the state's giving a little bit of grace period to allow companies to get registered, work out the kinks, but they will, just like how they have in other states, just like, Connecticut, Jersey, they will start auditing companies, and then, enforcing the fines that are associated with that.
Yeah, one thing I want to add there too to Lou's point is right now, right, companies with 10 plus employees is the requirement in New York.
Yeah.
It started at 30, right? It's scaled from 15 to 30, and then now it's scaling down to 10 come July. And the reason I bring this up is each state has different headcount requirements, right? So as an example, Connecticut is 5, California is 1. And the thing to keep in mind here too is California didn't start off as 1 employee, right? I think at one point it was 20 or 25, and it scaled down to 10 to 5 to 1, right? So even in New York, as of right now, the initial rollout is 10 plus employees. It's very conceivable that that 10 drops to 5, right? And then who knows, in a couple years down the line, it could drop down to 1 like California. So at the end of the day, businesses, right? Some of them are very close to the thresholds. It's something that our company, Human Interest, provides guidance and insight at all times for our partners, for businesses. We always are focusing and paying attention to this. We have Lou who knows state mandates in and out. So again, even after our call today, do not hesitate to reach out, right? Because we are happy to help talk through some of these things and just give some guidance on what businesses and ultimately need to focus on.
And then Secure Act 2.0. This is what the federal government recently passed and is doing to help businesses start qualified retirement plans. So What the Secure Act 2.0 does, well, it does a bunch of things, but two main things that it does for businesses. The first is it gives up to a plan expenses back for the first 3 years. So anything that is paid to a 401k or a benefits administrator to administer a qualified 401k plan, that then qualifies for the Secure Act tax credit, and then that business would get up to that 100% of those plan expenses back for the first 3 years. The second thing that the Secure Act does is if a company wants to give a company match, which is completely discretionary, the mandate does not say that a company has to match. The mandate only states that the company has to give the employees the ability to save their own money. But if they do decide to give a company match, the Secure Act also gives up to $1,000 per non-highly compensated employee for the first 5 years that a company decides to give a match. So that would be another way that might be an incentive to invest in their employees. Again, that part is completely discretionary, but that second part lasts for the first 5 years, while plan expenses lease cover for the first three. But again, this is a great way that the federal government is kind of stepping in and realizing that states are forcing companies to offer something. So the federal government is stepping in with those direct tax credits.
Thanks for talking through that, Lou.
No problem.
All right, so kind of bringing this full circle, right? Like why partners and businesses work with human interest today. So we've outlined, some of the key areas between federal tax guidance and credit guidance, integrations, all that good stuff. But there's a couple key areas as to, why it all comes together and why it makes sense, right? So if we're just looking at it from an admin experience for a business owner, there's a no-touch integration to payroll, right? It makes it extremely easy. We automate all processes or 90 plus processes for a business on the admin and record keeping side, right? On top of that, we have a 360 admin dashboard. At the end of the day, our technology is extremely clean, it's slick, it's easy to use, right, for the business owner, which also, falls into the employee experience, right? A big challenge that businesses have had or employees that have had are clunky, manual, I guess we call them legacy type of solutions in place for their retirement plans where they don't really know how to get in, make changes, who are people that they can reach out to. We make this extremely easy through our portal experience. Participants can sign up legitimately within 2 to 5 minutes, and that's all they have to do. They get notifications on a weekly basis, letting them know where their accounts are at and that they had funds that were honestly pulled. So everything is in that dashboard itself, very customizable. We have webinar enrollments that are available for employees. And most importantly, we have flexible plan options, which, again, some of the legacy providers in the past that aren't tech focused made it really challenging for employees to have. So we take a lot of pride in making it extremely easy for the employee experience, which obviously makes the business happy. Most importantly, too, is the completeness of our solution on the bottom left here. We act as the 316 fiduciary provider. Ultimately, what that means is all the tax information, documentation, admin portion of managing a plan. We handle everything for a client, which also, at the end of the day, does save them money because we are a fully bundled solution and they don't have to outsource potential other areas of this stuff. And then we have dedicated support teams all across the board. So myself from a partner account manager side as a dedicated resource for our partners. Someone like Lou has dedicated resources for speaking to their clients, as an example. And then post sale, we have account management teams on a one-to-one level that are going to be able to support those businesses. So if it's a potential referral from a partner that wants their client to use human interest, they can feel comfortable knowing that there's a lot of sets of eyes which go into, those initial fast facts that I was talking about in the beginning, about 250 plus customer service folks, and then the 800 total employees. There's a lot of people here to help. And then lastly about this is the state and federal retirement guidelines and regulations. Obviously, we've talked about that a bunch today, but that's a huge component of what we can bring. And then when it comes to cost and value, why this is important is, listen, we are an extremely affordable solution for what a client is receiving. On top of that, there are no hidden fees, no transaction fees. If you go on our website, you'll see our pricing, clearly listed. So from a partner perspective, you know that there's not going to be random pricing out there, which ultimately comes back to you and makes you maybe not look the best. We are transparent about how we go about it, so everybody's happy. And then on top of that, we also offer some types of promotions and everything that we can also help drive some costs down. Um, so I'll pause there. I don't know if Kate and Lou, anybody want to add anything pertaining to the services that you've seen?
Mike, thanks, Lou. So I'm curious about any successes or any wins you might have had in this realm helping small businesses, the actual stories. You have
Yeah.
anything to share?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I mean, listen, we have success stories all the time, right? And we help out tons of businesses. The state mandates. I mean, we had one recently where a Connecticut business um, got a thing in the mail, basically saying, you'd have a retirement plan in place, or asking what they have, because you have to certify with the state if you have something in place or not. And if you don't, then obviously you have to go find something, and you have to find something relatively quickly. So this business reached out to their CPA. They have 10 employees. The CPA heard of human interests, or maybe had a plan with us from another one of their clients. We set up a call. We literally had a call with the client same day. We got them signed up within 2 business days to set them up with a plan. We gave them promotions to give the costs that are associated on the admin side from day one. So ultimately, they didn't even have to pay, or they don't have to pay for about 6 months of free service on top of getting in compliance. So the partner was extremely happy, the CPA, that we were able to help their client out like that. The client themselves and the business were over the moon, right? We got everything done in 2 days. They don't have to worry about it. They were able to certify with the state, and they're not going to be paying any fines, and their employees are now going to have access to a retirement plan. So just from a win story and just as an example, right? It is driven by the mandate in this case, but we can work extremely fast, especially for clients that are willing and open to setting up a call with us. So that helps and gives you some guidance on how quickly we can kind of operate.
Outstanding. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
just a follow-up question on kind of the back of the house. So for a small business owner who doesn't have anything and they need to communicate it to their employees, and employees are confused or don't want to join, what is the solution here?
Mike, I think I can do that one. So that's very, very simple. As Mike explained, we have payroll integration. So once that plan is set up, we download all that business's census data. So we'll know, that employee's home address, their email, all those things. So when they become eligible, then handle all the communication out for the business involving the 401(k) plan. If they have any questions, they're going to contact us. It's an entirely US based customer service team out in Linden, Utah. As Mike mentioned, we have won many awards for our customer service. So if any of those employees have any questions about how to enroll, things like that, they can always reach out team. Or if they're a little bit more tech savvy, they can log in right through our portal and open a little chat window where they can also communicate with our customer service team as well.
That's great. So, no extra work for business owners on that aspect. Terrific.
Cool.
Hey,
Thanks, Kate.
thank you.
So obviously some of these questions are businesses, right? So how we can support. I know I mentioned a few different times about the value that we add to our partnerships. So anybody on this call, right? It could be twofold, right? If you are, again, a partner that's looking to partner with us and have a solution that you can represent to your clients or pass on to your clients, there's no uplift from your perspective, right? We are the experts. We don't have our partners trying to sell 401(k) or 403(b). We are literally here to be a resource, and we will work as closely as we can with our partners to be involved in those discussions. But we also have partners that are literally, they'll reach out to me and say, "Hey, Mike, I have a client that's interested in 401(k). They'll give us the information. We'll reach out, run with everything, get them set up, and then pass the information back along to that partner if they want. Sometimes they don't want to be involved at all. They say, "You guys are the specialists, you're the experts, go handle it. Thank you for your service and your support, and we're good to go." So There's a bunch of different ways to work with us, but partnerships, direct businesses, we can absolutely be there. And then a couple things, right, as to why starting a retirement plan now would make sense for a business or a partner talking to their clients is pretty simple, right? Expected and attracting employee benefits, right? A lot of small businesses offering this and then losing top talent, right? They're going to bigger companies. This is a way to help a small business remain, um, active in the market and competitive with other larger companies that do offer benefits. There are tax advantages for employees and employers as part of these plans. There's access to the tax credits, which we've talked about for Secure Act 2.0. That's at the business level. And then obviously staying compliant with the state mandates. So these are a couple drivers that are important for businesses to consider now. And then I also just wanted to show you an example of some of the promotions that we were talking about. All right. So every month, Human Interest through our partners are able to provide tech credit promotions. And when we say tech credit promotions, it is a promotion, but it is applied at the administrative SaaS level, right? So if you sign up with Human Interest, as I mentioned before, the Connecticut example of a business that signed on, they had 10 employees, so they received a $2,000 tech credit. Their services ultimately didn't reach $2,000 for 6 months, right, of working with us. So they weren't paying anything. And you can see that's on the employee headcounts here. There is some flexibility for partnerships, but at the end of the day, this is a good baseline that you can think about if you are a business owner considering moving to Human Interest right now or starting a new plan. Or if you're a partner knowing that, hey, I have a partner that is going to be able to immediately offer some promotions to my clients to make that process a little bit easier. I don't want to go into this too much, but I do just want to mention we have some other levers like a price match guarantee, which ultimately means if you are a business that has a plan in place and you are shopping around a plan or looking at new providers, right? If you were to send us the appropriate documentation, right, and just validating the figures that you have, we're not going to lose out on price, right? We will match those pricing as long as it's an apples to apples comparison. And this is important not just for the business, but for our partners as well, because you going into the field and trying to introduce us to a client or refer a client into us, you know that we are going to do our very best to ensure that they are paying the appropriate prices, and we're very transparent about that as well. So just wanted to point this out as just a nice little service that we do provide. Just wrapping it all up, right? Like why launch a human interest 401k? We do have the rebates, the tax credits, transparent pricing, easy to set up, integrations, payroll, ongoing support is obviously extremely important. And high employee participation rates, roughly about 80% when auto enroll is enabled. Why I want to put that in there and it's important is going back to some of the previous or legacy providers where employees didn't have a good experience because our process is so easy and efficient. There's a higher rate of employees that are opting in and then also staying in. So happy employees putting away for retirement is a nice thing to have. And that's about all. I'm going to wrap it up with some Q&A for the group. I appreciate everybody obviously, hearing us through and definitely looking forward to seeing any specific questions the group might have.
All right. Any brave folks on the line ready? Or you can unmute yourself or put some notes in the chat.
Sure. Let's see if we have anything in the chat real quick. No questions so far. I guess we're so good. We covered everything. Everybody can't wait to up with Human Interest. They're chomping at the bit. New partners are excited. But yeah, if we don't have any questions, hopefully this is myself. Reach out to Kate, Lou, whoever, right? We're here to help as a resource for your clients, for your partnerships, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and thank you for presenting this information today. There was a question in the chat, is the being recorded? And it is, and we'll be able to make that available. Oh, a question there.
Yep. As far as Roth, yeah, so 401k plans, you can either do pre-tax or Roth contributions, either or any combination of the two.
Great question. Thanks, Charlene.
Yeah, and also one thing I think we didn't cover much on this call, but it's also important to note is obviously the state mandates, right, are in place. But a lot of these small businesses that you might work with, medium-sized businesses, they might already have a retirement plan in place. So they will be able to certify with the state and they're covered. But that also doesn't mean that they have a good plan in place or they could potentially save money, right? So once every 3 years, businesses are required, this is their fiduciary responsibility to do a benchmark or a cost comparison on their plans to ensure that their employees aren't paying too much in fees and all that stuff. So we as human interest, we offer a free complimentary service of such. So if you're a small business and you want us to review your plans and see if A, we could potentially save your organization money, right? You can see a proposal from us and we'll walk you through and outline everything. And we see a ton of businesses switch over from other providers for that same reason, right? So keep that in mind. It's not just new plans, it is existing plans. We will help cover the costs that are associated with switching over to a new plan as well. So just wanted to make that clear as well. We can help out in new plans or existing plans.
Outstanding. Great information. Thank you, Charlene and James, for the comments. Keith, back to you.
All right. No one else has any other questions? We'll
I have a quick question. Mike or Lou, do you ever see any self-employed people taking advantage of this, or is it mostly only for people with more employees?
Yeah, I would say yes. So owner only businesses, definitely that is something that, we do run into. That's usually where the business is looking to really hit those IRS deferral maximums. So, while, let's say a simple IRA, they're kind of capped at like that 13,500, I believe. 401k through all the different avenues, they can get all the way up to over 70,000 in a calendar year from so that's definitely an area where we see people in an owner only scenario definitely leverage the 401k plan.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Terrific question. Yeah. All right, Keith.
Last call on questions. Going once, going twice. All right, Matt, do you have anything that you want to say in closing? I don't want to.
I just want to, I guess, say, thank you for everybody that joined us today, and to both Lou and Mike for presenting, and for Kate to bringing this together for us. Our next one will be more in regards to Workers' Compensation Board, New York State Workers' Compensation Board, on May 6th. So we hope that people register and come to that event as well.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us.